In 2005, the PlayStation 2 received the sequel to the first Kingdom Hearts game with Kingdom Hearts 2. The original KH2 was well praised for how it expanded on just about everything from the first game, as well as the inclusion of new mechanics like the drive forms and reaction commands. But of course, KH2 is most infamous for how it expanded on the story of the series, to varying degrees of success. However, Square Enix would introduce a re-release in the form of the Final Mix Edition, which included a new drive form, new cutscenes, a brand new area to explore, and of course, lots and lots of brand new bosses. In Japan, only in Japan by the way, and since the PS2 was region locked, Western fans would not get to experience this version of the game until the 1.5 and 2.5 collections were released all the way back in 2014. So as you can probably guess, I'll be covering this version of the game for the video. And since I just hit over 2,000 subscribers, thank you by the way, I love you all, we're covering this game to celebrate the milestone for this channel. Hey, my name is Jude, and if you've never heard somebody mention the Door to Darkness, then I'm here to tell you what is Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. So let's get that story out of the way then, shall we? The game takes place right where the first Kingdom Hearts left off, which is a total big lie, because we actually start the game out with Roxas, this emo little kid who spends the last of his summer days hanging out with his friends in Twilight Town. And we see Roxas take on jobs for pocket change, beat the local bullies, beat up his friends for balls, get stalked by this Hot Topic wannabe.
Getting kind of bored. Burn, baby!
Well anyways, after several endgame days, we learn that Roxas is the nobody of Sora, and accepts his fate as he returns to the Keyblade wielder so Sora can wake up. The rest of the game has us follow Sora, Donald, and Goofy as they're tasked by Master, whose name is Disney spelled backwards, to explore new and old worlds, rescue Riku and King Mickey, as well as fight off the brand new bad guys, the Organization 13. The Organization are a group of nobodies, which is a being that is created when a strong individual becomes a Heartless, while the body is left behind to form a nobody. Oh yeah, and Kyra gets kidnapped again, you know, the usual. So I know it's a lot to take in, but the game's story does a good job of easing you into the new narrative and whatnot. Much like the first Kingdom Hearts game, most of the Disney worlds don't offer much in pushing the main plot along. Some worlds are original stories, others retell the movies they're based off of, etc. And while the main plot does expand on the lore from the first game, it isn't without its fair share of retcons. Trust me, when you get to the half point of this game, you'll know what I mean. Plus, while it does have the number 2 in the title, it is critical that you play through the in-between game Chain of Memories to understand how Sora and the gang start out where they do in KH2. Otherwise, you'll be scratching your head as to who the heck Naminé and Roxas even are. However, if you enjoyed the handful of Final Fantasy characters sprinkled into the last game, never fear, because KH2 brings in a few new characters from other FF entries, like Yuna, Riku, not that Riku, Setzer, and of course, the man with the best comeback line to the Lord of the Dead, Auron.
No wonder no one wants to die.
Kingdom Hearts 2 has you play as Roxas for the opening portion, but the rest of the game lets you take control of Sora once more, who will need to defeat Heartless and nobodies to win the day. At the start of the game, you'll be given several choices that will affect your playthrough. The first choice is nothing to write home about. Choosing the wand, the bat, or the sword will grant you +1 in either magic, strength, and defense. But the biggest decision comes when you have to choose one of 3 weapons. These function just like they did in the last game, in that you have to pick either the sword, staff, or shield to determine what abilities you'll learn at what level. Though there's no weapon to discard this time around, and just like in KH1, the best option is, of course, the Dream Shield, since you learn abilities like Once More and Second Chance at level 25 and 49. Which are imperative if you don't want to get comboed to death in this game, because that will happen a lot. However, all 3 choices grant you abilities like Leaf Bracer at the same level, that being level 20. But once again, the Dream Sword forces you to grind to level 89 to get Second Chance, and once more at level 49. Speaking of abilities, other useful ones you should equip include Scan, which tells you how much HP an opponent has, the guard/counter guard abilities, since they let you block and counter an opponent, and trust me, for those hot rodders, you want this. Aerial Recovery will recover you from a stun state. That lets you hit back at an opponent after a recovery. Experience Boost is for boosting how much EXP you gain at low health, Slide Dash to close in on targets, Vicinity Break to make space in fights, Aerial Sweep/Dive to hit airborne foes, and the various finishers and limit within the game. At the end of a combo, Sora will perform a finishing move depending upon what you equip him with. He has default finishers, but you can learn more powerful finishers like Explosion, Finishing Leap, Magnet Burst, and Aerial Finish for air combos. But other abilities you should keep an eye out for are the various limits that have been vastly overhauled from the first game. Kingdom Hearts 2's limits are completely invincible, and most require one party member to perform. You can select what limit you want to perform in the limit submenu, or equip a party member with the auto limit ability and press the triangle button during encounters. And every party member has at least one limit. Extra party members like Aladdin, the Beast, or Simba all have cool and flashy limits, but the most useful ones come in the form of Ronald McDonald and Foygooks. Trinity Limit lets Sora, Donald, and Goofy perform 3 sets of powerful moves, though he can also do a solo variant when he fights alone. Donald can learn Fantasia and Fireworks, which both unleash a barrage of explosions that let Sora smack around and find out. While Goofy can learn Knock Smash, which lets him and Sora throw the weapons up in the air and pray to God something dies, along with the Whirligoof limit, where the two of them spin around till something dies and then they Beyblade, let it rip round and spin. Much like KH1, Kingdom Hearts 2 features a healthy variety of Keyblades that Sora can equip, and each Keyblade offers an extra ability to boot. You'll start the game out with the standard Kingdom Key, which offers a decent strength bonus for the early parts and has the ability to lower how much damage you'll take when low on health. The next Keyblade you unlock is the Star Seeker, though you won't be able to use it until you've unlocked a third Keyblade, but Star Seeker adds an extra hit in your air combos as an ability, and is very good when paired with the Valor form in the early game too. Hidden Dragon is unlocked after completing your first visit to the Land of Dragons, and here's the best part, it sucks. Aside from having a worse strength stat, this Keyblade gives Sora MP Rage, which makes your MP recharge faster depending upon how many hits you take. And honestly, its only good use is for equipping Star Seeker instead of Kingdom Key. Though one of the best Keyblades for the mid-game comes in the form of the Hero's Crest, which is unlocked after beating the Olympus world. It may have terrible magic at frickin' 0, but it offers a high boost in strength by 4, and its ability, Air Combo Boost, makes your finishing air combo deal more damage, depending upon how many hits you land, of course. One Keyblade that's slightly stronger than the Hero's Crest is the Circle of Life Keyblade, which is unlocked after being the first visit of Pride Lands. Not only does it have the same strength stat as Hero's Crest, but it has a better magic stat by a measly 1. And it comes with MP Restore, which recharges magic 25% faster than normal. The returning Oathkeeper offers a higher magic stat in the mid-game by 3 points, and has the ability Form Boost, which keeps your dry forms out slightly longer. And one of my favorite Keyblades comes halfway through the second visit of Beast Castle, that being Rumbling Rose. The Rumbling Rose Keyblade gives Sora 5 extra strength, and though it doesn't come with any magic boosts, it has the ability Finishing Plus, which adds a second finisher move on top of your first finisher for some extra damage, making it a great way to have this ability before Sora learns it in the endgame. A Keyblade that's optional but totally worth picking up is the Gullwing Keyblade in Hollow Bastion. After completing the second visit and heading back to the castle entrance, you can speak to Yuna for a short cutscene and be rewarded with this weapon, which offers you another experience boost, so it's best to use this one when grinding for levels at the end of the game. And the Keyblade I bet you all want me to go over is the infamous Sweet Memories Keyblade, found after finishing the 4th visit to 100 Acre Wood in the game. While it may have terrible strength, that being 0, it comes with 4 magic, and has Drive Converter, which makes drive orbs appear regularly for your drive meter. However, one of the best Keyblades in the game is, without doubt, Decisive Pumpkin. This one is unlocked after completing the second visit to Halloween Town, and is arguably better than the Ultra Weapon in some ways, since Decisive Pumpkin comes with the high strength stat of 6, and the legendary Combo Boost ability, which makes ground finishers do more damage depending upon how many hits you landed in a combo. And if you see any pros running KH2, they're probably rocking this bad boy for those 2 reasons. One Keyblade that is a Final Mix exclusive comes in the form of 2 Become 1, which is unlocked after defeating Roxas in the final world. While it may offer decent strength and magic, its best use is for unlocking the final form. since it increases the odds of you going into anti-form much higher. And since Final Form unlocks at random after beating Roxas, it's very easy to run to the next room and repeat the process until you get it. And the last two Keyblades I'll go over are the Fenrir and Ultimate Weapon. Fenrir is the most key-looking Keyblade in the game, and is unlocked after defeating the optional Sephiroth boss fight, and has the ability called Negative Combo, which subtracts how many hits you land in a combo by 1. So while that may not seem all that impressive, what it's really good for is for cheesing optional bosses like the Lingering Will. And the Ultimate Weapon is the hardest Keyblade to acquire in the game, since it has you get tons of materials that you'll probably already have by the end of the game, which I'll go into more detail once we get into the post-game content. But for now, the Ultimate Weapon comes with 6 strength and 4 magic, as well as MP Hastega, which recharges your magic meter insanely fast. Speaking of MP, magic once again returns from the first Kingdom Hearts game. While there are a total of 6 spells in the game, all of the offensive spells can be used as a combo finisher as well. And just like in KH1, magic is in its own sub-menu as well. But if you don't want to have to scroll through the magic menu, you can get shortcuts to what spells you want to cast via the customized option in the menu. The fire spell is unlocked after completing the first visit to Hollow Bastion, which creates a burning ring of flame that surrounds Sora. Blizzard is unlocked after speaking to Merlin in Hollow Bastion during your first visit, and shoots ice projectiles at foes. The Thunder spell is one of the most useful in the game, once you unlock it after defeating the Hydra boss of Olympus Coliseum, since it can hit foes from far away if you lock onto them, making it a great combo finisher for later fights. The first visit of Beast Castle gives you the Cure command, which spends all of your MP for a full heal, as well as any nearby party members to boot. And the 2 new spells are some of the best in the game, like the Magnet spell, which is acquired after beating the Oogie Boogie boss of Halloween Town, and pulls in all nearby foes, allowing you to get some free hits in too. But its best use is for comboing into Thunder to put those Heartless through the ringer with a big old zap. And finally, the best spell in the game is, by far, the new Reflect spell. This one is awarded after beating P in Timeless River, and repels all attacks in the game, and I do mean all attacks. And since the spell costs very little MP, you can easily spam this against many of the enemies and bosses in the game, letting you pull an Uno Reverse card as the Founding Fathers intended. Anyways, after Sora visits Mysterious Tower and speaks to the 3 fairies for some new clothes, he's also given the game's new mechanic, that being Dry Forms. There are 6 forms in the game that Sora can unlock, most of which require 1 or 2 party members to transform into, and you can freely swap between any of these forms via the form option in the command menu, thanks to the drive gauge. The drive gauge starts at level 3, but it is possible to upgrade this even further up to level 9. Each of the drive forms can level up just like Sora can, with the max level being 7. And if Sora levels these forms up, he can learn better movement abilities required for some of the optional areas of the game. So you can look up the requirements for leveling up dry forms via the status options in the menu. But one rule of thumb is to level up your dry forms as you go along the game, since there are several save room areas where Sora is alone, and if he goes to the next area, he can swap the dry form, head back to the save room, and get a full drive meter as a result, making these areas great for grinding dry form as you go along. But if you're ever low on the drive meter, you can use items like the Drive Recovery, which is found in chests and forged in the Moogle shop too. The Valor form is the first drive form that Sora unlocks in the game. While it can't use any magic, it lets him wield 2 Keyblades and deal some high damage for the early game too. Not only does he run faster in this form, but it lets him learn the high jump ability as well, letting him reach higher areas much faster than normal. The Wisdom form is unlocked after completing the Disney Castle World, and it lets Sora skate around and shoot lasers from his Keyblade, but where this form really comes in handy is its magic prowess. For example, you can spam the Fire spell and it'll dash towards an opponent for some high damage. Plus, it lets him learn the dash move, which is great for whipping around the areas too. A drive form exclusive to the Final Mix version of the game comes in the form of Limit form, and of course is one of the best in the entire game. Limit form gives Sora all of his powerful moves from the first game, and gives you the Limit command in the submenu, and changes your shortcuts into 4 Limit moves, all of which can be used up to 2 times before depleting the magic meter. The best one being Sonic Blade. Yes, I know it's technically called Sonic Brave, shut up. Which hits foes at lightning fast speeds and can lock them down for good hits. And Sora learns the Limit form after completing his second visit to Twilight Town, and lets him learn the dodge roll move when leveled up. With all that said, if Sora uses his dry forms too much, there's a chance you'll go into what's known as the anti-form. Anti-form takes up all of your party members, and while it may look cool, this form acts as a punishment for using too many dry forms, because it can't use reaction commands, items, or magic. And if this triggers during boss fights that require reaction commands, you're pretty much screwed. Though the odds of going into anti-form are completely random, the highest chance of you turning into it are during the various Organization 13 fights. And since you can't change out of anti-form, you have to wait for the form meter to either deplete or just die. After Sora meets up with King Mickey and Hollow Bastion, he'll give you access to the Master Form, which uses 2 Keyblades and acts as a more balanced form between strength and magic. And you can learn the Aerial Dodge move when leveled up, which acts as a double jump. Also, Aerial Dodge can deflect several attacks, so get this one leveled up immediately. However, the best form in the game is by far the Final Form, which can be unlocked after beating the Roxas fight in the final world. As I mentioned earlier, Final Form is unlocked at random when Sora goes into his dry forms in the world that never was. Final Form also wields 2 Keyblades and deals some of the best damage of all the dry forms, since the Keyblades float around you and deal some of the best magic damage in the entire game. And Sora learns the Glide ability when he levels this one up after beating nobodies. Trust me, you want this immediately for the endgame. Now, Kingdom Hearts 2 also lets you summon allies to help during battles just like in the first game. In KH2, summons use the drive gauge while they're out, and they level up by how much of said gauge has been spent. Just like dry forms, they will use both party members to be summoned, so you better make sure Donald isn't dead before pulling one out. The first one you unlock is the baseball charm to summon Chicken Little after speaking to Merlin about Pooh's storybook. This charm summons Chicken Little, and his only saving grace is that he can use the magnet spell to stun the Hot Rodders and Timeless River, and trust me, they freaking suck. Plus, his limit goes all FPS mode and shoots bombs for a bit. Yeah, first-person shooter mode in Kingdom Hearts 2, that's a really cool game, yeah. But hey, Sora's already had a friend like this one before, because the genie returns after acquiring the lamp charm from Agrabah. Genie can copy 4 of Sora's dry forms, those being Valor, Wisdom, Master, and Final. All of which can be swapped to the Drive option in the menu. Aside from that, his other abilities include being able to heal Sora and perform a variety of limits that change depending upon what dry form he's currently in. The most useful of these being the Master and Final Form, which go all Unga Bunga and destroy everything. And honestly, it's just really cool to see Genie in all these different color schemes, so it's pretty cool. The Ukulele charm is found after speaking to Mickey Mouse and Hollow Bastion and acquiring the Master Form, in a chest right before the supercomputer room. Trust me, you can't miss it. The Ukulele charm summons 626 aka Stitch. Though he does not appear in battle, he can stick to the screen and restore Sora's MP and HP, making him great for farming summon gauge levels too. And lastly, the leader of the Lost Blood returns with Tinkerbell via the Feather Charm, found in a chest at the second visit of Port Royal. And Peter Pan is best used with his limit, in which both he and Sora fly around and draw all enemies and towards them for decent damage. But what good KH game wouldn't be complete without a list of worlds to explore, eh? There are a total of 15 worlds to choose from, and some of these worlds have world within worlds too, like how Hollow Bastion has both Space Paranoids and 100 Acre Wood World, or how Disney Castle has Timeless River within it. The first world you'll visit is Twilight Town, via the open tutorial of the game, and if this part doesn't make you drop the game, I don't blame you. It's long and boring. Twilight Town as Roxas is a slog to get through, which takes place over the course of 6 in-game days, and you have to participate in the Struggle Tournament on day 4, in which they flew me to places I've never known, but hey, at least it gets to duke it out with Hayner, Vivi, and Setzer, as they're lying on the cold, hard ground. Anyways, once the player takes control of Sora, you begin the first real episode of Twilight Town, which is just head to the hangout spot, fight the nobles at the clock tower, board the train to Mysterious Tower, etc. And once you complete Twilight Town, you unlock the Gummy Ship Hub area to explore what worlds you want to go to. During world visits, you'll come across treasure chests as well. Most chests have some goodies like potions, rings, armors, recipes, etc. But larger chests will usually have maps of the area, item boosts, equipment, or even some torn pages for the Pooh world. Most worlds will have at least 2 episodes that you'll need to complete to progress through the main story. And every world will have several segments where you'll either have to beat all the enemies, hold out till the time runs out, kill everyone before time runs out, or the occasional escort mission to boot. And there's one time where you have to head back to Hollow Bastion to get access to Pooh's storybook after you've beaten 2 Disney worlds. Speaking of which, there are a few worlds that are broken up into multiple short episodes, like the previously mentioned 100 Acre Wood world, which has you return after fighting up to 5 torn pages to collect like in KH1. And is once again a series of short and easy minigames that gives you some extra items and accessories to boot. But other worlds have you go back to, of course, everyone's favorite, Atlantica. Oh, Atlantica, how much I despise you more than the first game. Yeah, remember the whole underwater combat of the first game? Well, guess what? That's not here anymore. You'll be swimming your way, so you dance while you play to the beat of QTEs. Yay. There are 5 episodes to Atlantica, so you have to come back to this world once you have the right spell or upgrade to continue along. And in episodes 4 and 5, you'll acquire the mysterious Abyss Keyblade and the Orichalcum Plus, making this world a requirement if you want to get the ultimate weapon. With all that said, Atlantica is technically optional. So if you don't want the Orichalcum Plus or the Mysterious Abyss Keyblade, don't bother. Another world you'll be returning to at various points is the Olympus Coliseum. This world's first visit locks Sora out of using his dry forms for the last few fights. And after completing the Disney Castle, you can partake in the Underworld tournaments. And though your past seems so close behind in the Underworld, you can partake in various tournaments with different conditions, like reduced limit costs, dry forms, and some informed tournaments too. But if you want to get the final tournament, that being the Hades Paradox Cup, you better get to grinding those summons near the end of the game. And before I forget, in order to access these worlds, you'll need to partake in the various Gummy Ship minigames, which are completely revamped from the last game, since they're fast-paced, high-octane action, and they give you new ships to fly in for future Gummy Ship levels. But you're not required to fly through these during returning visits during the second half of the game, with the exception of Twilight Town at the very end of the game, which has a level ripped right out of Star Wars for the final level. Now, if you thought KH1 was lacking in enemy variety, you've come to the right game, my friend. You've got your returning Heartless like the Shadows and Soldiers from the first game, along with the large bodies that need to be hit from behind, or just spam the Ice Spell. But now you have Heartless like the Crimson Jazz to deal with. These are red flying Heartless that spam balls of fire that'll knock Sora around like there's no tomorrow. And the best way to stop them is to kill them before they have a chance to play the game. Along with the infamous Hot Rodders, which are first encountered in the Timeless River world. Since they pack a wallop and at low health, they become invincible for a short period and run you down. So you'll need to time your blocks or rely on Chicken Little to take them down. And most, if not all enemies, have what's known as a reaction command that you can perform to turn the tide of battle in your favor. Basically, if a prompt comes up telling you to press triangle or Y, please use it. Though reaction commands can be scarce, the ones you'll most likely come across are against the 1000 Heartless battle halfway through the game, like the Rising Sun and Snag into Sparkle Ray for example. And the newest enemies come in the form of Nobodies, which are saved for special encounters till the end of the game. Since these guys drop the highest experience possible within the game, Nobodies have fewer enemy varieties, but make up for with their unique designs and difficulty. The Dusk is the first one to come across in Twilight Town, along with the Creepers during the Twilight Thorn boss fights. But ones like the later Dancers and Berserkers will put you through the ringer with their stun locks and command grabs. Oh, and you better watch out for those assassins too, and they'll do a lot of damage when they go down to your thighs and then blow you up. But where Kingdom Hearts 2 truly shines is in its boss battles. There are a lot, and I do mean a lot of bosses in this game. Most of which I don't have time to go over for in this video, but what you need to know is that several fights have gimmicks to work around, like how the Shan Yu of Land of Dragons has you fend him off while protecting the doors, or how Barbossa of Port Royal must be beat within moonlight by smashing the Heartless that cast darkness. And just like the Heartless and Nobodies, most bosses have a reaction command that'll quickly turn the tide of battle for you. Another new mechanic exclusive to KH2 is that bosses will need to be defeated via a combo, which usually ends up being your finishing combos or even limits if you want to be even more flashy. However, bosses also have what's known as revenge value, which basically means if you hit a boss with too many combos, they will break out of it and retaliate back towards you. If you die during certain bosses in the early parts, the game will give you a prompt and you only want to select I won't give up, since it lets you play as Mickey Mouse to save the day. Mickey can jump, shoot orbs, and charge up the drive gauge to bring Sora back to life. And if you fill the drive meter all the way full, he can revive Sora with full HP, though he cannot take down bosses due to none of his attacks landing as combos. but if he takes too much damage, he will automatically bring Sora back to life with a low amount of HP. However, the more times you summon the mouse, the odds of him showing up during later fights becomes less and less. And be aware that later bosses will have what's known as desperation moves, which are these big flashy attacks that pack a wallop and will need to be blocked or avoided. And there's another thing. Final Mix offers several optional bosses that can be fought as early as Olympus Coliseum. These are called Absent Silhouettes, and are all refights against the members of Organization 13 from Chain of Memories. And you can take on these guys for additional armor and item slots, as well as recipes for Donald and Goofy. That being said, I would not recommend taking on these guys till you're a third of the way through the game, since they're a tough bunch to deal with that will destroy you in the early game, but they are required if you want to take on all the data fights in the post game. So my recommended list of when to fight them consists of Zexion around the second visit of Hollow Bastion, Larxene around the second visit to Port Royal, Lexus and Vexa near the end of the game, and Marluxia you should wait till the very end of the game, since his gimmick is based around what level you're at, and he's rocking super boss levels of HP to boot. Oh, but we're not done yet, people. We still have the post game to go over. Kingdom Hearts 2 features several optional areas and bosses to take on if you're looking to get a little more content after the end credits. Within Hollow Bastion, after completing the final visit to Space Paranoids, a new episode will unlock that lets you take on the one-winged angel, Sephiroth, who is considerably much easier this time around, unless you're on level 1 critical. After beating this boss and speaking to Cloud, then heading back to Sephiroth to watch the cutscene, you'll be rewarded with the previously mentioned Fenrir Keyblade. As I mentioned earlier, the ultimate weapon will need to be forged at the end of the game. The ultimate recipe will need to be found in a chest where Sora woke up at the start of the game, and taken to the Moogle shop to learn about all other required recipes. And while it may require 13 of the Orichalcum Plus items, there are only 7 of these in the game, so you'll have to use the item Energy Crystal to forge this one in the Moogle shop. Several of these can be earned by completing worlds like Atlantica and 100 Acre Wood World, as well as completing the Hades Cup of Olympus near the end of the game. The next chunk of post-game comes into 3 items, known as the Proof of Connections, Proof of Non-Existence, and the Proof of Peace, which will give Sora a little crown for the rest of the game. The Proof of Peace is unlocked after earning an S rank in all Mushroom 13 encounters scattered throughout the worlds, and these are unlocked after completing the final episode of their respective worlds. The easiest one being Mushroom number 5, which is a great way to grind dry forms and summon forms too. And once all 12 mushrooms have been S-ranked, the player will need to head back to the Great Maw of Hollow Bastion, watch Mushroom 13 descend from heaven, literally, and award the player with the Proof of Peace, as well as the Winner's Proof Keyblade, which gives the player 0 experience. Nah, that's okay, you can have it. Why do mushrooms always have to ruin the fun? What's also in Hollow Bastion is a new optional area that is unlocked during the second visit after encountering Sephiroth for the first time, known as the Cavern of Remembrance. So you may be wondering, should you attempt this area as soon as it's unlocked? Heck no. This place is built for the end game in mind. Enemies hit like a freight train, there's tons of platforming meant for max drive forms, and at the end of this long area, you have to fight some of the hardest nobody encounters in the game. And after making it to the waterfall room, you unlock a shortcut back to the save point where you started. But if you interact with the control console, you unlock refights against every single member of Organization 13, even the ones from Chain of Memories. Yep, all 13 of them.
Hey, what about me?
Wait, who are you again? Anyways, known as the data fights, these bosses have super boss levels of HP, and these are the best ways to farm items like magic, AP, and strength boosters for the end of the game. The difficulty of which ranges from not too bad to stupidly hard like Data Demix and Data Zexion. And defeating all 13 data fights awards you with the Proof of Non-Existent item. And the final super boss of the game goes to the Lingering Will, which is unlocked after beating the game and has you return to Disney Castle and step into this giant portal over here. And if you attempt this boss, prepare for the fight of your life, since he's rocking the highest amount of HP in the game, has several moves that can take away your commands, and has super armor until you break it with a combo to do some real damage to this knight. He's just like me for real. And when you beat him, if you beat him, you're rewarded with the final Drive Gauge upgrade, as well as the Proof of Connections item 2. Plus, you're allowed to refight the Lingering Will as many times as you want, which is good for farming the Lost Illusion items too upon refights. And if you're playing on critical mode, you can view the secret ending after beating him in the theater option in the menu, and thus gave life to the super boss that traumatized even the best of Kingdom Hearts players. If only they could have given a Sora the bat.
Scaredy cat.
Yeah!
Okay, so let's go over some tips and fun facts about the game, shall we? After beating the game and making a completed save file, you'll unlock the theater option in the menu to watch your favorite cutscenes all over again. But as I mentioned earlier, the secret ending will be more difficult to unlock depending upon what difficulty you're playing on. The synthesis shop is unlocked during your first visit to Hollow Bastion, and you can turn in all your items to forge some of the best armors, weapons, and accessories in the game, most of which will require rare drops from enemies that can be mitigated when using abilities like Jackpot and Lucky Lucky. You'll find items within chests like AP Boost throughout the game, which of course increases how many abilities Sora can equip at a time. But as a general rule of thumb, all AP boosts go to Sora. All of the items returned from KH1, like potions, ethers, and elixirs too, and they all function the same way as before, so if you're ever in a bind and need some healing or magic, you better stock up on them goodies. You may come across these crowned within the worlds, and these are another Final Mix exclusive that are pieces to a puzzle you can make in the Jiminy's Journal, most of which are in high places and require max drive gauge abilities. All 3 difficulties return from the first game, like Beginner, Standard, and Proud mode. But the Final Mix edition adds a brand new critical mode too, which gives the player higher experience at the start, but increases damage taken and lowers how much HP and MP they have, as well as starting the player off with 50 ability points and more at the start of the game. In KH2, the best way to grind to level 99 is to equip the Golden Keyblade and another experience boost and fight through the final world at low health. Since the amount of experience will be doubled at low health, this will give you levels very quickly for the post-game. The Western release of KH2 was slightly censored versus the Japanese version, like the Port Royal world with the pirates' guns and even the cutscene with Will Turner to boot. Speaking of which, the Final Mix version of the game includes several new cutscenes to boot, which are now fully dubbed over in the HD collections, several of which tie into the next game, Birth by Sleep, like how this mysterious figure uses Ansem's computer to access the Forgotten Armor in Hollow Bastion. Too bad Sora couldn't figure out the password though. He doesn't know much about PCs as it is.
Stop all the downloading!
I don't know much about computers other than the one we got on my...
Who wants to buy the Messiah?
So while Kingdom Hearts 2 may have one of the longest and most boring tutorials in video game history, it is absolutely worth playing to see the rest of what the game has to offer, which is a much more refined version of KH1 with better combat, a story that can tug at your heartstrings, and some of the greatest bosses and most infamous fights in the entire franchise. If you wish to purchase this game, hold on to your seats because I'm sure you've never heard me say this before. It is now available via the HD collection now on everything. It's one of my personal favorite games of all time, and one I love returning to replay nearly 20 years later for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and once again, thank you all so much for 2,000 subscribers. Have a blessed day, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.